Our freedoms are under attack. Video games, books, paintings, films, music, and other creative works are legally considered forms of speech, and in the United States, expressive content, including artistic expression, are protected by the First Amendment. But it seems that credit card companies, banks, and payment processors feel that they are above these things.
Your most precious video games banned. Visa and Mastercard, payment processors, part of the SWIFT payment system, the global infrastructure of finance, have decided you are not allowed to buy legal content. And so we are seeing the beginning of a new war.
In our world, power usually wears a suit. It shows up in boardrooms, in stock prices, and on Forbes lists. But some power is silent. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. It simply controls the flow of money. And when you control money, you control speech, business, and survival. This is the story of Visa and Mastercard, the twin towers of global payment processing. Together, they don't just process transactions. They decide what is acceptable, who is allowed to make a living, and who gets a raise from the financial system. Visa and Mastercard aren't just companies. They are gatekeepers to the global economy. Roughly 80% of card-based transactions globally go through these two giants. If you've ever used a debit or credit card online or in-store, chances are your payment went through them. They're not just part of the financial system. They are the system. You might think they're neutral, that they simply process whatever transactions are sent their way. But that's not true. These companies have policies, guidelines, internal ethics, and lately, those ethics look a lot like censorship. Let's go back to 2010.
We have been attacked through legal means and illegal means, especially since last December. We have lost 90% of our revenues as a result of the Visa Mastercard attack. We have lost other revenues as a result of the PayPal attack. We've lost other revenues as a result of Bank of America's blockade. It is not a matter for these companies operating in Europe, operating in Australia, operating in Iceland, to enforce unwritten rules of US foreign policy.
WikiLeaks releases a trove of classified US government documents. It sends shockwaves through the world. The US government is furious, but can't immediately shut WikiLeaks down. Then Visa and Mastercard step in. They cut off donations to WikiLeaks, even though the organization hadn't been convicted of any crime. No government agency had officially declared them illegal, but they didn't have to. All it took was two private companies to block the money flow. And just like that, WikiLeaks' lifeline was gone. The message was clear. You don't need to break the law to be silenced. You just need to upset the wrong people. Visa and Mastercard have become de facto morality police. Over the years, they've cut off payments to websites, creators, and entire industries. Sometimes it's about illegal content. Other times, it's about perception. Adult content creators, LGBTQ+ educators, and even independent journalists have all been suddenly banned from using payment processors without warning, without appeals, and often without explanation.
For those that are new to this, there's a lot of young people, because this is like 8 years ago we were going through this, 8 years. So you're out there right now, you're 18, you're 19, you're 20, 21, whatever it might be. You were a young teenager, you weren't following this when it was going down. But Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, now Lotus Eaters podcast, was banned from Patreon. And their attitude was, if we do not remove this person, our banks shut us down. We call it debanking. And this is the terrifying reality of the chain of censorship. No law was passed. Nobody broke the rules. But a payment processor said, we deem it so. And who is this person? Who is the individual? Who is the committee? Who is the group? Who is the company that made the decision to start banning content? Someone up the chain.
Take the case of OnlyFans in 2021.
Let's check in on a story that we have been following this week. OnlyFans doing a total 180, scrapping plans to ban sexually explicit material after coming to a resolution with its bank partners.
For a brief moment, the platform announced it would ban sexually explicit content, the very thing it was known for. Why? Because pressure was coming from, guess who? Visa and Mastercard were reportedly reconsidering whether to allow transactions for the platform. OnlyFans panicked, trying to protect their payment access. After public backlash, the company reversed course. But the message stuck. You don't own your business if someone else owns your payment processing. Here's the terrifying part. This power isn't just about censorship. It's about control. If you run a controversial business, speak on controversial topics, or exist in controversial spaces, you don't just risk demonetization. You risk being financially erased. Imagine this. Your YouTube channel is banned. Your Patreon account is frozen. Then your Visa stops working with your website. You're not jailed, you're not sued, but you're functionally exiled from the modern economy. This is called financial deplatforming, and it's spreading. A sex worker in Berlin, a journalist in Brazil, a whistleblower in Kenya. They all tell the same story. One day, their Stripe, PayPal, or card processor stops working. No explanation. Just a polite email saying they're no longer in compliance. With what exactly? Good luck finding out. Governments used to be the ones who censored speech. Today, they've outsourced that job to corporations. Payment processors are pressured, sometimes subtly, sometimes openly, to ban users, freeze funds, or close accounts. And because they're private entities, there's no legal requirement for transparency, no First Amendment, no due process. What does this mean in real life? It means you can be silenced for something that isn't illegal, just unpopular, or politically inconvenient. And once you're banned, it's not just about freedom of speech anymore. It's about freedom of survival, because in the 21st century, if you can't get paid, you can't live. We often think of big tech, like Facebook, Google, or YouTube, as the ultimate digital overlords, but even they need payment processing. Visa and Mastercard sit one layer beneath the platforms. If YouTube is the house, Visa is the plumbing. And when Visa turns off the tap, the whole thing dries up. This is infrastructure-level control. It's quiet, it's hard to detect, and it's nearly impossible to fight. Because here's the truth. You don't get to opt out of Visa and Mastercard. Not if you want to do business, not if you want to get paid, not unless you're ready to live completely off the grid. Visa and Mastercard built their empires by taking a tiny cut of every transaction. That sounds harmless, until you realize they now process trillions of dollars each year. They didn't ask for political power, but they took it. And now they are moral arbiters, speech judges, quiet executioners of careers, platforms, and ideas. And the most chilling part? They don't need to explain themselves, ever, because they're not accountable to you. They're accountable to no one but shareholders and political pressure. So where do we go from here? Some have turned to cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, Ethereum, currencies with no central authority, no gatekeeper, no Visa, no Mastercard. But crypto isn't immune. Exchanges still rely on bank wires. Wallets get blocked, regulation looms large, and most people still rely on traditional financial infrastructure to survive. Others push for payment freedom laws, demanding due process before financial bans can happen. But those are slow. And Visa and Mastercard? They're faster at blocking, at banning, at deciding who stays and who goes. Visa and Mastercard don't need armies. They don't need propaganda. All they need is silence. All they need is for us not to notice, until we're the next ones cut off. This isn't just about money. This is about who controls the future. And right now, it's not elected officials. It's not the public. It's two faceless corporations you've probably never thought about, even though you've used them 1,000 times. Visa, Mastercard. They don't just process your payments. They decide if you get to exist.